Hi, this is Jeff from Evans Performance Academy. Welcome to Megasquirt Basics. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to create a project file and get online with our Megasquirt box. We're going to have a lot to cover, so let's jump into the video. Okay, so let's get started here. We're going to be taking a look at how to work with our Tuner Studio software to get online with our Megasquirt box. So whether we're going to be having a Microsquirt or all the way up to a Megasquirt 3 Pro, we're going to be doing the same process here. So the very first thing to get started is to actually get online with your Megasquirt box. So we can accomplish that in two different manners here. We can see if we go up to File, we see that this has this option, New Project, Open Project, Import Project Backup, Load, Tune, or Exit. Now in this point, we are in the offline mode. We're not communicating with our box, and we're ready to start our communication process, but we actually haven't went in and established the project to be able to go in and communicate with our box. So the first thing here, we can either go to New Project up here or go to Create New Project here. A project is going to be needed in order for you to start your communications and do any kind of tuning. Now the project's going to be holding your tune file, your data logs, and the firmware type that's going to be associated with that project that you're going to be tuning. So for example, if you have a Honda that has a Megasquirt box, Megasquirt 2 in it, it's going to have a different firmware than if you have something like a Chevy LS engine and you have a Megasquirt 3 Pro on it. They're going to have two different firmware versions on those boxes because they're going to have unique differences in their actual software abilities to go in and have different features and functions. And the firmware is going to allow that particular feature or function to populate into the software and be able to be edited and changed during our tuning process. So it's very important that we go through and set this project up so when we go and open up the project folder associated with a project we're working on, our Megasquirt knows what firmware to expect. It's going to go load that firmware, and then our software is going to be displaying all the features that are going to be associated with that particular firmware or the box they're going to be using. So in this case, we need to create that project folder again to get started. This is step one. So we're going to be going here to Create New Project. I'm going to click this, and the project name. Now I'm going to be leaving this on my car. You're certainly able to change this. I have noticed on a fresh installation of the software like this, if you go in and have a unique project name, it can actually go in and give you problems. It doesn't want to let you get past the first initial couple steps we're going to be going through here. So I suggest at this point you leave project name under My Car, and then you can go in and change that later, just so you don't have any issues getting past this particular point. Now we can see this project name under My Car is going to go into project directory under my particular users, Jeffrey Evans Documents, Tuner Studio Projects, My Car. This is going to be where we find our data logs, calibration files, anything else associated with this project, as well as the firmware it's going to be expecting to see. Now we can see the next part here, we have firmware. We have to do a detect firmware so it knows what firmware to load into the folder. Again, when you open this particular project up, it's going to know what it's communicating with. So it's going to be knowing if it's a Microsquirt, a Megasquirt 2, a Megasquirt 3. They're all going to be different. So I'm going to go into this right now and click detect. Now, I should say at this point, my Megasquirt box is plugged into my laptop and I have my Megasquirt powered up. So in my vehicle, I have the ignition key on and everything is powered on. I'm not trying to start the engine. I just simply have my ignition key turned on so my dash is illuminated and everything is getting power, including my Megasquirt box. So I'm connected to the box. My box is powered up. I'm going to go and do this detect. Now what you should see, it says searching for known devices. As you can see down here, it's scanning the ports. It should automatically find the port that you have plugged in. So you can see in my case it's COM3, the communication rate, and then you can see found MS2/extra 3.4.2 release. This is the actual firmware that my particular box I'm dealing with has on it, which is a Microsquirt. So we can see right here, it tells us that it's found it and it knows what the firmware is. So we're going to click accept. That's going to put it into our project folder. Now next we can see project description. We can give a description of what our project we're working on is, or we can choose to skip this. Normally I skip this, but it's not a bad idea to put some details in for your project. So you might want to add things such as what kind of cam the engine had, or injectors, or fuel pump, or things of that nature. So the more details you can add in here, the better off. Going back into an older project, you want to go revisit what this particular project was about, you can leave your description notes in here. That'll be very useful. So we'll click next here. We can see here
We're going to have configuration settings. These are going to be things that are going to default into our software when we actually open it up and start communicating. I normally leave these on the default settings. I don't go ahead and do any custom configuration settings on this area right now. Click Next. We're going to be seeing that this is our communication. It's establishing a communication on our COM port in this particular example, and it's showing me that my COM port 3 at this baud rate tests successful, so it's able to read and write to my controller and everything is working properly. Now, if we're in doubt about that, we can also switch our COM port if we were looking to move it to a different COM port on my laptop. We could go and test that port out and see if it gave us a successful message. If it gives us the message that shows successful, then we know that it actually works and everything is going to be ready to use. So because it gives me this successful message here, everything is okay with the COM port, I'm ready to move to my next step. Click Next. We're going to be seeing lastly, select dashboard. Now, the default here is going to be what loads. We can see that it's showing it's moving and sweeping these different gauges here and all the information at the bottom. This is going to be the default layout. Now, because we're right now on the light edition of the software, we're not on the MS registered edition or the MS Ultra edition of the software, we're not able to go in here and choose different looks of our dashboard. So when we open up this, it's going to be showing this and displaying it behind. You'll be seeing what it's going to look like here. So we can see that we have a bunch of different choices here depending on what we want to have in our dashboard. We can see it's showing us a quick run modeling of this particular dashboard as we're going through here. So unfortunately, we're only able to go to that default cluster layout, so we can just click Finish and allow it to do that. So when we do that, we can see it's going to be showing it's downloading the controller data and now is read the file out of my controller.
Okay, so that wraps up our video. Make sure you check out all the videos we have in our Megasquirt's basic course. Now, if you want to learn beyond the basics, you want to learn how to tune with your Megasquirt, check out evansperformanceacademy.vhx.tv. That's going to be where we have our Megasquirt training course. It's going to be going over all the details you need to know in order to properly tune your Megasquirt, as well as many other engine management systems. So hopefully you check that out, and I'll be able to see you guys in class.